My name is Sienna Hart. I'm 27 years old. Last month, I turned 27 and my phone stayed completely, perfectly silent. No happy birthday text, no awkward call from my mom, not even a lazy Facebook post with a recycled cake gif, nothing. Just the glow of my screen showing work emails and bank notifications. It wasn't surprising anymore, just heavy. They'd skipped it 3 years in a row. The first time I cried. The second time I told myself it didn't matter. The third time I promised I wouldn't care. I still cared. It stung more this year, probably because of the timing. A week before my birthday, my mom had texted that the fridge was empty and couldn't wait till payday. I sent her $200 without thinking. A few days before that, I'd Venmo'd my younger brother his rent again. 3 months in a row now. Back in August, I paid their internet. In September, Dad's car insurance. 2 weeks before my birthday, the water bill. The last time my dad actually paid something without my help, I was still in college. Meanwhile, I was working 55 hours that week, including on my birthday, dragging myself between a full-time job and side shifts just to stay afloat in my tiny one-bedroom apartment with peeling paint and thin walls. No vacation, third year in a row. I didn't even buy myself a cake. I came home that night, heated leftover noodles, and scrolled through other people's birthday photos like I was watching some other species live their lives. A week went by, nothing from them. Silence. I thought about calling, just to see what excuse they'd come up with. We thought it was next week. We were going to plan something. We were so busy. I could hear all of them in my head with embarrassing clarity. I didn't call. I waited. Then, on a random Thursday afternoon, while I was halfway through a spreadsheet at work, my phone buzzed with a notification from our family group chat. Not a message, a file. Skitrip is expenses 2025.pe. No hi, no explanation, just the file. For a second, I thought it was some joke. I tapped it open. 4 pages. Someone had put effort into this. It had little ski emojis next to each section title. Neat columns filled with numbers. 5-day trip to Colorado. Hotel costs. Gas. Groceries. Restaurant reservations. Lift tickets. Equipment rentals. At the bottom, a bolded line. Sienna's share, $2,000. I stared at that line so long the numbers started to blur. I didn't reply. Instead, I watched the chat light up, like everything was normal. My mom sent a photo of a white ski jacket she wanted. Do you think this color will make me look washed out? My brother wrote, calling dibs on the room with the fireplace. My dad joked about hoping the hot tub worked this time, some reference to a previous trip I hadn't been able to afford to join. Not a single mention of my birthday. Not a sarcastic, we owe you a cake. Not a late, oh yeah, happy birthday, by the way. Just pure excitement about a trip I was expected to help fund. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, tracing cracks in the paint with my eyes. The street light outside bled a narrow stripe of orange across the wall. I couldn't sleep. My mind wasn't racing. It was counting. Rent, utilities, groceries, gas, student loans, their electricity, their water, their internet, my brother's rent, and now $2,000 for a ski trip I didn't even want to go on. Around 3 a.m, I gave up trying to sleep. I got up, grabbed the battered notebook I keep in the kitchen drawer, and sat at the small dining table that doubles as my desk. I started writing. Last 4 months. Brother's rent, 3 months, $2,150. Parents' electricity, $113. Water bill, $61. Costco runs about $180 a month. Internet, $89. Dad's car insurance, $140. Random emergencies, probably another $400. The total made my stomach turn. All of it paid from paychecks I barely saw, while I lived alone in a small apartment with thrift store furniture and secondhand dishes. I skipped vacations. I skipped nights out. I skipped my own birthday cake. They had forgotten my birthday again, but somehow they remembered exactly how much I could contribute to their ski trip. By 7:42 a.m., I was dressed for work, hair still damp from a rushed shower, sitting on the edge of my bed with my phone in my hand and that PDF open one more time. My thumb hovered over the group chat icon. I didn't overthink it. I typed, effective immediately. I'm done paying for anything. Handle your own bills. I stared at it for a second, felt a flutter in my chest, then hit send. No explanation, no essay, no softening. Just that. I locked my phone, grabbed my bag, and left for work. On the train, my phone vibrated in my coat pocket. I didn't look at it. I watched the city slide by through the scratched glass, people rushing on platforms with backpacks and coffee cups. I tried to imagine what it would feel like to only be responsible for myself. At my desk, I finally checked. My dad had responded with 3 crying, laughing emojis. Nothing else. My mom wrote, "Oh, what's going on with you?" like I'd just posted a vague status for attention. My brother had dropped a meme, some cartoon flipping a table with the caption, "Drama Queen Energy." That was it. No one asked why. No one said, "Are you okay?" They treated a decade of unpaid labor and financial support like I'd thrown a tantrum because of a ski trip. I put my phone face down on my desk. They really didn't get it. What they didn't realize, and what I'd never given them a reason to understand, was that I meant it. Every word. I wasn't bluffing. I wasn't fishing for apologies. I wasn't going to send an anxious follow-up explaining myself. I was done. That decision sat in my chest like a stone. Heavy, yes, but solid. By the next morning, the tone changed. At 9:13 a.m., my mom texted, "Internet's down. Can you check the payment?" The old reflex twitched in me, the one that would have opened the billing app, checked the account, fixed it before they had to feel the inconvenience. I didn't move. At 9:17, my dad called. I watched his name light up my screen. Let it ring until it stopped. No voicemail. At 10:41, my brother called and, when I didn't answer, actually left a voicemail, his voice higher than usual, words tripping over each other. "Hey, I just got a notice from my landlord. Rent didn't go through. I have until the 5th or I'm getting kicked out. Can you please send it like you usually do? I'm serious. I don't have a backup plan. Call me, please." I listened to it twice. It was the first time I'd heard real panic in his voice about his life, not someone else's. And in that moment, sitting at my tiny desk at work with a lukewarm coffee and that voicemail echoing in my ear, I realized something I'd been avoiding for years. They couldn't afford life without me. Not just things are tight, not just it would be hard. They literally did not know how to function without me plugging the holes. I wasn't a cushion, I was the floor. Their food, heat, internet, rent, they were all built on the assumption that I would always be there, always working, always sending money, always covering the difference. And I was about to vanish from that equation. The ski trip, they'd have to find somebody else's credit card to ride. The overdue bills? Not my problem. My brother's rent? For once, he'd have to learn what it meant to have consequences that didn't magically disappear when his older sister opened her banking app. They had no idea how serious I was, but they were about to find out. Because this time, I wasn't backing down. By the second day, the group chat went dead. Not a joke, not a meme, not a ski emoji in sight. The silence didn't feel peaceful, not yet. It felt like the tense moment in a storm when the wind stops and everything goes unnervingly still. I knew exactly what that quiet meant. They were regrouping. My family had a pattern. Step 1, guilt. Step 2, jokes that weren't jokes. Step 3, a pity party so theatrical it made Broadway blush. Step 4, my surrender. But this time, something inside me wasn't bending. On Friday afternoon, my brother finally cracked. A single text popped up. "You seriously going to let me get evicted over some birthday thing?" That's what he thought this was about. A birthday thing. As if I was throwing a tantrum about a missed cake and not about years of carrying 3 adults on my back. I stared at the message for an hour before replying. "You're almost 25. Figure it out." Delivered, read, no response. Saturday morning, my dad called again. This time I answered. His voice slid into its familiar script, the monologue he always used when he wanted something from me. "You know family sticks together, sweetheart. We've always helped each other, especially since COVID. Things have been tight. We need to understand one another. This isn't the time to make a scene." I let him ramble for a full minute. Then I asked one question. "Dad, do you know when my birthday was?" Silence. A beat. Then a nervous laugh. "Come on, Sienna, don't be like that." I hung up. The old me would have apologized just for making him uncomfortable. This new version didn't even wince. By Monday morning, the real panic began. Mom sent a screenshot of a utility bill with a bright red past due banner across the top. No greeting, no explanation. Just, "Can you cover this month just this once?" I reacted with a thumbs up emoji. Not yes, not no, just acknowledgement. She tried calling twice after that. I didn't answer. By Tuesday, my brother had left me 4 missed calls. When he finally left a voicemail, he sounded like someone unraveling. He said the landlord gave him a 5-day notice. He said Mom and Dad promised they'd help, but they don't have SAT right now. He said I was leaving him to rot over a skiing vacation. A vacation he expected me to pay for. He ended with, "You're being cruel." I called him back. He picked up on the first ring. "How could you do this?" he yelled. "I thought you had my back. I thought you always would." I kept my voice level. "You've never paid a bill in your life, Liam. You're 24. Start now." He sputtered, called me a heartless bitch, then hung up. I didn't cry. I didn't shake. I didn't even feel angry. I just felt tired. By the end of the week, the pressure on their side kept building. My aunt called me out of nowhere and said Dad had asked her for just a little help with rent. That told me everything. If they'd gone to her, they were out of options. She asked why they were suddenly in such a mess. I told her the truth. I stopped paying their bills. She paused, then said, "Good." That weekend, something strange happened. I had money. Not family money, my money. Money I didn't have to send immediately to another household. Money that actually stayed in my account. I went shopping for the first time in forever. I bought new boots, a heavy winter coat, and let myself eat a real dinner at a restaurant with friends. I didn't check my bank balance between every store. I didn't feel sick when the bill came. I didn't overthink dessert. For the first time in years, my wallet felt like it belonged to me. Meanwhile, my brother was falling apart. His Facebook marketplace became a graveyard of overpriced electronics. Gaming chair, smartwatch, a barely used tablet. He started high, $300, $400, like he still didn't understand how desperate he was. Within hours, the prices dropped. My mom stopped posting her usual dinner photos on Facebook. A neighbor mentioned they were keeping the heat off most nights. I didn't reach out, I didn't check in. I wanted them to sit in the reality I had lived in for years, stretching paychecks, sacrificing things quietly, watching everyone else enjoy life while I kept us all afloat. And then came the manipulations. My mom sent a long message in the group chat, rare for her. She wrote that they'd reflected on things, and maybe they'd missed some things lately. Still no mention of my birthday. Still no apology. But then she wrote, "We still want you to come on the ski trip. It won't feel like a family thing without you. If money's tight, maybe we can reduce your share." I actually laughed out loud. They still thought I was upset because I couldn't afford it. After all the bills I'd paid for them, they still saw me as someone who needed to earn her place in the family. 2 days later, my brother sent a voice note, dripping with fake vulnerability. "I get it, okay? We messed up. But this isn't just hurting you, it's hurting all of us. You cutting us off made everything fall apart. If you really care about family, you'll end this silent treatment." There it was, the twisted definition of family. Family is the person who fixes everything. Not the person who deserves love, celebration, or even basic respect. That day, without hesitation, I canceled their Costco membership, the one they used weekly. Within an hour, my mom sent a screenshot. "Membership inactive. Please renew. No question mark." I didn't reply. The next morning, my dad texted asking why his car insurance didn't go through. I didn't reply. Then came his voicemail, cold, clipped. "If you were going to cut us off, fine, but you could have given us a heads up. We needed time to prepare." They'd had decades to prepare. I was done apologizing for their lack of preparation. That night, I opened my banking app and created a new savings account. I named it Escape Fund. I transferred all money that used to go to their bills into it. The name felt symbolic, like crackling off an old skin. The following weekend, I took a quiet day trip with friends to a lake town. We ate lunch by the water. I laughed, really laughed, for the first time in months. While we were still eating, I checked my phone. One text from Liam. "They're blaming me now. Thanks." I turned my phone off. Let them blame each other. Let the cracks show. Let them feel what it's like to stand on shaky ground with no safety net. I had been their glue for years. The reminder, the bill payer, the birthday rememberer, the fixer of every crisis, big or small. Now they were lost. By week 3, the desperation was turning sour. Mom was calling 10 times a day. Dad was trying guilt. Liam was angry one minute and passive-aggressive the next. But nothing prepared me for day 4. It was early. I was getting ready for work, pulling my hair into a bun when my doorbell rang. Nobody rings my doorbell. I checked the peephole and froze. My brother stood outside my apartment, 2 bags at his feet, eyes sunken, shoulders slumped. I hadn't told him where I lived. Not once. I'd moved 2 years ago and never shared my new address. Somehow he found me. I opened the door 3 inches. He whispered, "I have nowhere else to go." He told me he'd sold everything, that he'd called everyone, that Mom and Dad said they couldn't take him back right now. I stood there, not deciding whether to let him in, but stunned it had come to this. For years, I believed they'd always cushion him, protect him, prioritize him. But when things truly got hard, they shoveled him out the door faster than trash day. "You can't stay here," I said quietly. He didn't yell, didn't argue, didn't even cry. He just nodded, picked up his bags, and walked away. I closed the door gently, leaned against it, and let the silence wash over me. An hour later, I learned where he ended up. A girl he used to hook up with in high school posted a photo on social media. Him asleep on her couch under a pile of mismatched blankets. No caption, just his socks sticking out. The comments were savage. I didn't message him. I didn't call. I didn't update my parents. I just watched the unraveling. The next morning, my dad called and left a voicemail. This time, his tone wasn't angry. It was shaky. "We're worried," he said. "Your brother isn't answering. We don't know where this is going. I think we really messed this up." It was the first time I'd ever heard him say those words in my entire life. And somehow I knew. This was only the beginning. 2 days later, everything shifted. Not in a dramatic explosion, but with an email. A single subject line that made my stomach drop. Notice of removal from joint account authorization. Urgent. I was sitting at my kitchen table with a fresh cup of coffee, hair still damp from the shower, when the notification slid across my screen. I clicked it open, expecting something small, maybe a routine update, maybe a "you have been removed" confirmation. Instead, lines and lines of text unfolded, and each one cut deeper. I had been removed as a cosigner from the credit card my parents begged me to cosign on 5 years ago, the same one they swore they barely used, the same one they said was just for emergencies. But that wasn't the part that made my hands go numb. Attached to the email was a statement of charges. Over $14,000 in debt, all under my name, and now in default. My coffee went cold. I scrolled through the charges, watching the numbers change but not really processing them. Flights, rental cars, Apple Store purchases, DoorDash orders almost every other night, multiple cabin rentals, $1,200 each, clothing stores, streaming services, alcohol deliveries. Then the one that stopped me cold. A cabin rental dated the exact week of my birthday. While I was alone on my couch eating leftover noodles, they were sitting beside some fireplace, probably drinking wine, using the credit card with my name on it. I didn't cry, not then. I just stared at the screen and felt something inside me go quiet. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't forgetfulness. This wasn't family struggling. This was exploitation. This was entitlement. This was theft, with a smile and a ski trip PDF. I called the bank immediately. A robotic voice shuffled me through menus until a real person finally picked up. I explained everything. Calm, factual, unnervingly steady. I locked down every shared account, added security questions only I could answer, and requested full investigation into the unauthorized charges. They took notes. They sounded sympathetic. Then I called a lawyer. She was direct, efficient. She didn't sound shocked, just disappointed in human nature. "This is financial abuse," she said, "and it happens more often than you think." Hearing the words out loud made something in me sink, like a stone settling at the bottom of a lake. We spent an hour on the phone building a timeline. I forwarded emails, screenshots, text messages. I dug through every record of payments I'd made for them over the last year. She told me I needed to block them, at least during the case process, to prevent harassment and preserve evidence. I didn't think about it. I blocked all 3 of them. Phone, email, social media, every channel. It was like flipping a master switch. For the first time in years, my phone was silent. Not the tense, storm-brewing silence I felt earlier. A different kind. Gentle, weightless, peaceful. That weekend, I did normal things. I bought groceries. I cleaned my apartment. I went for a long walk in the park and let my mind wander without dread, waiting for it on the other end. I even took a hot shower without hearing phantom texts in my head. It was like detox, but the detox didn't last long. The workplace ambush. The next week, I had just finished lunch and was walking back toward my office building when I saw him. My brother, standing near the glass doors, hoodie pulled over his messy hair, dark circles under his eyes like he hadn't slept in days. He spotted me immediately. "Sienna," he said, stepping forward. I turned, pretending not to hear. "Sienna, wait!" He followed me. Of course he did. "I just want to talk," he said, breathless. "Mom and Dad are freaking out. They got some letter from collections. The card got defaulted. They canceled the ski trip. They're talking about selling the car." He kept going, a stream of panic spilling out like water from a cracked pipe. I kept walking. Then he said something that made me stop in my tracks. You should have just paid it off like always. It didn't have to get this ugly. I turned slowly. He looked tired, but not remorseful, not understanding. Just annoyed that the world wasn't being fixed on his schedule. You really think that? I asked quietly. He shrugged. I mean, yeah. You know they can't handle this stuff. You know how they are. You always fix it. Why make it worse? I felt something inside me snap, not loudly, not violently, softly, finally. You guys really don't get it, I said. This was never about money. He scoffed. Then what? You're mad about the trip? Or your birthday? You're making everything dramatic. I walked away mid-sentence. He didn't follow this time. By the time I reached my desk upstairs, my entire body felt like it was vibrating. Not with fear or anger, with clarity. I opened my phone, blocked him, then blocked my parents again on every new number they'd tried. Full blackout. A new, deafening silence. The next few days were quiet, really quiet. For the first time since I was 19, there were no emergencies, no guilt texts, no last-minute requests that yanked me out of sleep, no calls where I pretended not to cry from exhaustion. Just silence. It felt like a room I had never been allowed to enter before. Clean, spacious, full of oxygen. I made breakfast and actually tasted it. I went home after work without tension in my shoulders. I read a book without checking my phone every 3 minutes. I slept through the night. They didn't call. They didn't email. They didn't show up. And part of me wondered, had the storm really passed? Had they finally accepted the consequences of years of leaning on me? Or was the silence just another calm before impact? I didn't have to wonder for long. Because 2 weeks later, my lawyer emailed me again. Attached was a scanned image of a handwritten letter. No return address. The handwriting shaky, uneven, smudged in spots. It was from my dad. And that letter changed everything. The scanned letter came through as 4 grainy PDFs, uneven margins, smudged ink, corners wrinkled as if it had been folded and unfolded too many times before finally being mailed. My lawyer forwarded them with a simple message. From your father, thought you'd want to see. For a long moment, I just stared at the subject line. Then I clicked. The handwriting was unmistakable, thick pen strokes like he pressed too hard with every word. There were small water stains in the margins, and halfway down page 2, the ink blurred like the pen had dragged through something wet. He had cried. My dad had actually cried, writing to me. I had to sit down. The letter began stiffly, like he was forcing himself to keep his hand moving. Sienna, I know we're not supposed to contact you while the lawyers handle everything, but I needed you to hear this from me. Not your mother, not your brother, me. That alone knocked the air out of my lungs. Dad had never, not once, spoken to me without filtering everything through someone else. My mother mostly. The buffer, the translator, the shield. But here he was, writing to me directly, painfully. He went on. I'm sorry. I don't think I have ever said that to you when it mattered. We leaned on you so long that we forgot what standing on our own felt like. My throat tightened. I told your mother we'd figure it out, that this mess wasn't yours to fix. We should have told you years ago how much you were doing. We should have thanked you. Instead, we let you become the solution and stopped treating you like a daughter. I don't think we even saw the difference anymore. That line cracked something inside me clean in half. I'd waited years, maybe my entire 20s, for someone in my family to acknowledge what they'd turned me into. Not the moneymaker, not the reliable one, not the responsible one. But the solution, their safety net, their automatic fallback. Tears hit the paper where I printed the letter. I hadn't cried once through the entire cutoff, not even when I saw the $14,000 debt. But this admission, was the one thing my heart hadn't braced itself for. The letter went on. I know this doesn't fix anything. I know it doesn't undo what your mother and I let happen, or what your brother said, or what we put on your name, but you were right to walk away. He wrote that twice, once near the end, again at the bottom in smaller handwriting. You were right to walk away. I sat at my kitchen table and cried for 20 straight minutes. Ugly, heaving sobs I didn't know were still in me. The letter didn't erase the hurt, but it finally named it. For 3 days, I kept the pages tucked inside my nightstand drawer. I didn't respond. I didn't call. I didn't unblock anyone. I just sat with it. Every night, I reached for the drawer and ran my thumb along the paper without reading it again. Something felt fragile inside me, like reopening the wound would make it harder to close. I wasn't ready to forgive, but for the first time, I wasn't ready to rage either. And then people started talking. Signs of real change. 2 weeks after the letter, my aunt called. We're not close. We never chat. She's the kind of relative who only calls when someone is pregnant or someone died or when something dramatic is brewing. She said, "Your brother's back home, on the couch. He's working at one of those home improvement stores out by the highway. Part-time, barely anything." I didn't say a word. Then she added, "He walks to work, every morning, dark or not." That stunned me more than the debt had. For Liam to walk anywhere? He used to Uber 2 blocks because he didn't feel like sweating. Something had shifted. After that call, I checked the credit account, the one holding the monstrous $14,000 mistake. A payment had been made. Only 90 tau, barely a dent. But it wasn't automatic. It wasn't from my bank. It wasn't from me. A week later, another payment. Then another, irregular but steady. They were paying it down themselves. Slowly, awkwardly, out of order, but genuinely. And I didn't quite know what to do with that. Mom's letter. A few days later, my lawyer forwarded another envelope. This one was smaller, handwriting looser, slanted, rushed. It was from my mom. "Sienna, I know we've made mistakes. We didn't realize how much we relied on you, not just for money, for everything. You kept this family from falling apart for years. We forgot you needed someone to catch you too." She explained that she'd started a part-time job at a dental office answering phones, that she and Dad made a budget for the first time in their marriage, that the ski trip money went to groceries, that they'd sold furniture to catch up on utilities. Then the line that hit harder than I expected. "I'm sorry we didn't celebrate you. I'm sorry we didn't show up for you. We want to be better. We're trying." It was sloppy, emotional, unpolished, completely unlike the smooth, guilt-wrapped messages she used to send. It felt real. I folded the letter and put it in the drawer with Dad's. But I didn't unblock anyone, not yet. Choosing peace over performance. For years, I fantasized about this moment. The grand apology, the dramatic realization, the moment they'd finally understand the weight I had carried. But when it arrived, it didn't feel like a cinematic reunion. It felt quiet, tender, uncertain. I didn't want to race back into the family dynamic. I didn't want a tearful group hug. I didn't want to pretend everything was magically healed. I wanted exactly what I had now. Peace, boundaries, stillness, my own life. I spent days thinking about what to say, if I should say anything at all. Forgiveness wasn't a button I could press. It wasn't something I owed, but clarity that I could offer. So one night, I opened a blank message. I didn't send it to the group. I didn't send it to my mom. I sent it only to my dad. "I'm glad you're starting to figure things out. It's not about money. It never was. I just needed to stop being your lifeline." No emojis, no long explanations, just truth. He replied hours later. "We get that now. We're learning. Thank you for letting us fall. You probably saved us." I cried again reading that, not because it fixed everything, but because it finally felt like they saw me. Really saw me. A new beginning, not a reunion. I haven't visited yet. I haven't unblocked the group chat. I haven't paid a single bill. I haven't stepped back into the role of fixer, savior, or solution. But they've stopped asking. My brother goes to work. My parents pay the debt. The heat stays on by their effort, not mine. The ski trip is long forgotten. They thank me now, not for the money I used to give, but for the boundary I finally drew. And sometimes, late at night, as I sit in my quiet apartment with my own bills handled and my own money safe, I realize something profound. The most loving thing I ever did for my family was stop rescuing them.